चुनाव होंगे।
You're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. Saffron reigns supreme in Uttar Pradesh as Yogi Adityanath took the oath of office to kick off his second term as the Chief Minister in the presence of BJP top brass, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, BJP Chief JP Nadda, as well as senior union ministers, BJP Chief Ministers, and top party functionaries. In the presence of thousands of citizens, the double engine of Uttar Pradesh was standing strong as the Saffron Party overhauled the Uttar Pradesh government to reflect the large social coalition which powered the BJP sweep. 20 OBC ministers, 8 Dalits, 7 Brahmins, 5 women and 4 Jat ministers. That is the broad makeup of the new UP government. The big names include Keshav Prasad Maurya, who despite losing from Siratu, was re-inducted as the Deputy Chief Minister. Prajesh Pathak has been elevated to the post of Deputy Chief Minister after a strong track record as the Law Minister. Baby Rani Maurya has also joined the cabinet after serving as Uttarakhand Governor, quitting just weeks before the elections. While Congress turncoat and Brahmin leader Jitin Prasad continues in the state government. Chief of the Nishad Party, Sanjay Nishad, has also been inducted after a stellar performance in the elections in consolidating the OBC vote for the Saffron Juggernaut. The BJP's victory was driven by visible factors, including the effective delivery of welfare, which cut across caste and regional lines, and an implicit trust in Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as well as the party's aggressive campaign around a strong law and order plank driven by the image of bulldozer Baba Yogi Adityanath. Shehar mein Rashan, Gaon mein Sashan was the big message of this election. With no strong vision from the opposition, these narratives helped blunt the offensive against the BJP, where the voters believed that the Saffron Party was the only option to even solve the persistent problems such as inflation and rising unemployment. On the road to 2024, so has the BJP cracked the formula for the kingmaker state to boost its campaign for a third term at the centre? Joining me on the show, Guru Prakash, spokesperson of the BJP, Professor Bhuvan Bhaskar is the spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Nistula Hebbar, political editor, The Hindu, Rahul Verma, fellow of CPR. Nistula, I'm going to begin with you as someone who has covered the BJP for years. In 2017, we did not know who will be the Chief Minister of UP till minutes before Yogi Adityanath's vehicle entered the venue of the BJP legislature party meet. This time around, though, UP went to polls knowing fully well who the Chief Minister of the BJP would be. So would you now say that today, after this government formation, this is really and truly the beginning of the Yogi era in the Uttar Pradesh?
Well, certainly, Maria, Yogi Adityanath has cracked the code, it seems, because he has made history in Uttar Pradesh. He is possibly the only person in the state's history who has been elected back as Chief Minister after serving in a successive term after serving a full 5 years. So in that sense, it is a massive achievement. However, if you look at the Council of Ministers, the makeup of the Council of Ministers, I would say that the imprimatur of Delhi, of the national leadership, is also pretty much visible in this Council of Ministers. You gave, of course, a very good description of caste equations that were being balanced. But the very fact that Mr. Keshav Prasad Maurya makes a return as Deputy Chief Minister of the state, the fact that Mr. A.K. Sharma, who is MLC but was closely associated with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his CMO in Gujarat and the PMO when Prime Minister moved to Delhi to occupy that post. He has been included. It quells all the rumors that possibly there were no warm vibes between Yogi Adityanath and Mr. Sharma, or Yogi Adityanath ji was a little hesitant to accommodate somebody who had the ear of the Prime Minister. You also see that Mahendra Singh, who is considered extremely close to Yogi Adityanath, has been dropped, but also many other people who have been included. Rajesh Pathak has been included, has been elevated to Deputy Chief Minister's post, removing Dinesh Sharma. So it seems to be a balancing act between Delhi and Lucknow as far as I can see. I don't think that anybody truly had their whole way with regard to the Council of Ministers, and as far as inner party equations, etc., we need to see the makeup of the Council of Ministers. There is, of course, a very real worry about the non-Yadav OBC vote bank, which the BJP had been consistently getting the support of from the 2014 elections. There are some, there were some data sets that were gone into by the party before these decisions were made in terms of the inclusions, etc. The BJP did not do hugely well in Ambedkar Nagar, Kaushambi. This is all the Kurmi belt, and therefore, if you see, even the 20 OBC ministers who've been included, a large number of them are Kurmis. And the party is has fine-tuned a lot of things. Yogi Adityanath himself gave a clue to it yesterday.
I'm going to take that
addressed
forward.
The BJP's legislative party meeting.
Yes, Nisula, I'm going to take that thought forward with Rahul Verma. Rahul Verma, the kind of OBC representation that we are seeing, Dalits, 5 women, in fact, a number of ministers dropped, several new faces brought in. And as Nisula was saying, that this is a fine balance between the centre and the state leadership. So is this the new BJP taking shape in UP?
Thank you, Maria, for having me today. I completely agree with what Nistula was saying. See, cabinet formation anytime is going to be about balancing different interests and different coalitions within the party, different factions within the party. And so you saw a balance between center and state. You saw balance of caste equations. You're also going to see balance of regional interests, that East UP, West UP, Bundelkhand, center also gets represented. So there is always going to be some people and some names will be dropped out and some new faces will be inducted, right? So those things are part of any such cabinet making and cabinet expansion exercise. Is this the new BJP? I think the new BJP in that sense began in 2014.
Yes.
And so I don't know how long we can keep using and saying the term new BJP. I think the imprint of the new BJP was very clear in 17 and 19. And so now it's basically a continuation of social coalition that has been created in last 6-7 years. And we keep seeing the reflection of that social coalition, both in the way BJP nominated candidates, both in campaign rhetorics, as well as in accommodation of in the cabinet. And final point, which is parties not only nominate candidates and bring people in their cabinet of the communities which have voted for them, but they are also futuristic in that sense. So sometimes what you will also see, the number of women representation going up, is also segments that party wants to mobilize ahead. Maybe Rani Maurya being made a cabinet minister.
And 5
she was
women ministers
governor
in
of
all.
Uttarakhand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guru Prakash,
So
you know, there are certain high-profile names who have been dropped. Dinesh Sharma, for example, wins election, is dropped. Shrikant Sharma and also Siddharth Nath Singh. These were performing ministers and they have been dropped. So what really is the message? That even if you lose election, for example, Keshav Prasad Maurya lost from Siratu, he gets elevated and continues as the Deputy Chief Minister, but Dinesh Sharma, who wins election, gets dropped as the Deputy Chief Minister, did not even find a place in the cabinet.
No, Maria, we must understand that BJP is today the world's largest political party. There are multiple roles, multiple responsibility in the organization. We can definitely use the expertise and the experience of the leadership. They have all handled the media well in the past. They have all handled the organization as well. But one clear point which unfortunately all of us are missing tonight, and that's something which is very unfortunate, at least as far as I'm concerned, that out of 5 women faces, please listen to me very carefully. Out of 5 women faces, for the first time in the history of Uttar Pradesh, there are 3 Dalit women. This is the arrival of Dalit women. Baby Rani Maurya as a cabinet minister, Vijay Lakshmi Gautam and Gulab Devi. So this is the real arrival of Dalit women in the scene. We don't seem to be talking about them. Okay. This is the arrival of Pasmanda Muslim. Are we not aware of Mr. Danish, who is a young face? And Pasmanda Muslims, we are all aware that 85% of the Muslim community in the country, they belong to the Pasmanda category. So it's about giving representation and dignity to the marginalized, to the disadvantaged. And this is the reason. This is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas in action. And if I can put it like this,
let's quickly listen to what Keshav Prasad Maurya is saying, and then I'll go back to the guests.
मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जो गरीब कल्याण का यज्ञ पूरे देश में चल रहा है और उत्तर प्रदेश में चल रहा था, उस यज्ञ को जारी रखेंगे, उसे और आगे और मजबूती से बढ़ाने का काम करेंगे। 2022 की यह दूसरी पारी जो हमारी है, लोक कल्याण संकल्प पत्र जो हमारा है, वह हमारा रोड मैप है। उसके आधार पर हम उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता की सेवा करेंगे, कार्यकर्ताओं के मान सम्मान में कमी नहीं आने देंगे। तीसरी बात मैं यह साथ में और जरूर कहना चाहूँगा कि 2024 में 75+ के संकल्प के साथ हम आगे बढ़ेंगे।
अच्छा, ये सवाल है कि बुलडोजर क्या
Bhaskar now. Professor Bhaskar, Guru Prakash has made an important point about the representation of Dalit women in this cabinet. Look at the representation of OBCs, an important representation of the Jats as well. The BJP is sending a message to all other political parties that they will be now limited to what has been the traditional vote bank, and even that traditional vote bank is shifting. Look at what has happened to Mayawati. The BSP's traditional vote bank has moved away from them towards the BJP. And again, Professor Bhaskar, here is the shift that we have seen also of the Jats. They're continuing to be with the BJP and Dalits as well. You should be worried. What is the new constituency that you will create?
Good evening to everyone. Firstly, as a socialist worker, we are blessed that we have a visionary leader like Akhilesh Yadav ji. आज उन्हीं के कारण जो उन्होंने इकाना स्टेडियम बनाया, आज उसमें उस प्रदेश के ही काम नहीं आ रहा, बल्कि हमारे आज विपक्षी लोगों के भी वो काम आ रहा है। इससे पता चलता है कि माननीय अखिलेश यादव जी जो विकास पुरुष है उत्तर प्रदेश के, उनकी कितनी सोच बड़ी थी। और इसके साथ साथ मैं कहना चाहता हूं, जो अभी आपने क्वेश्चन करा, अभी
आपके विकास पुरुष को इनवाइट किया था योगी आदित्यनाथ ने, क्यों नहीं गए वो?
लेट मी कंप्लीट, मैं आपको
इस ओथ टेकिंग सेरेमनी में एक बेसिक पॉलिटिकल कर्टसी वो निभा सकते थे, क्यों नहीं गए?
मैं आपके विषय पे भी आऊंगा, 1 मिनट का विषय, थोड़ा सा आपका सुधार भी मैं करना चाहता हूं। अभी आप बता रहे थे कि दिनेश शर्मा जी चुनाव लड़े। दिनेश शर्मा इज एमएलसी, अभी वर्तमान में वो विधान परिषद के सदस्य हैं, उन्होंने चुनाव नहीं लड़ा। यू हैव टू करेक्ट इट, ओके। अब मैं आता हूं अपने विषय पे। माननीय अखिलेश यादव जी की जो भी वो फैसला करते हैं, वो उत्तर प्रदेश के हित को देख के और समाजवादी पार्टी के समाजवाद को आगे बढ़ाने की लड़ाई को समाजवादी
क्या हित था? अगर एक बेसिक पॉलिटिकल कर्टसी जो उनके फादर निभाते हुए आ रहे हैं, अगर वो चले जाते तो इसमें क्या हित था समाजवादी पार्टी का या उत्तर प्रदेश का?
देखिए, आप भी जब अपने परिवार में आप देखती होंगी, कोई आपको निमंत्रण आता है, तो अगर पिता चले जाते हैं तो ऐसा नहीं होता कि पुत्र का भी जाना अनिवार्य बनता है। वो हमारे संरक्षक है, हमारे एमपी हैं, हमारे नेता हैं माननीय मुलायम सिंह जी। तो अगर वो चले गए तो समझो समाजवादी चले सारे। ठीक है, इस तरह के विषय को समझने चाहिए। इससे देश और प्रदेश आगे नहीं बढ़ने वाला। हमारी शुभकामनाएं हैं, अभी जो मुख्यमंत्री बने उनको उप मुख्यमंत्री बने, और जितने मंत्री बने, जितने विधायक चुन के आए, चाहे वो कांग्रेस के चुन के आए, चाहे बसपा के चुन के आए, सपा के चुन के आए, चाहे बीजेपी, सभी को हम बधाई और शुभकामना देते हैं उनके उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए। इस तरह से राज्य बनेगा।
Okay, Guru Prakash, a quick response from you and then I'll go back to the analysts.
If you can allow me, Maria, the gentleman from Samajwadi Party यही अंतर है साहब, यही अंतर है मुलायम सिंह यादव जी में और अखिलेश यादव जी में, और इसको राजनीतिक शुचिता कहते हैं, इसको पॉलिटिकल विजडम कहते हैं. बट द पॉइंट इज नॉट दैट. द पॉइंट इज दैट यू आर कॉलिंग योर सेल्फ सोशलिस्ट, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली डायनेस्टोक्रेसी इज द न्यू रूल इन समाजवादी पार्टी. आपके यहाँ समाजवाद के नाम पे परिवारवाद चल रहा था, आपके यहाँ समाजवाद के नाम पे वंशवाद चल रहा था, और उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता ने बार बार ये उत्तर आपको दिया है. 2014 हो, 2017 हो, 2019 हो और पुनः 2022 हो. अगर आज भी आप लोग आत्ममंथन नहीं करेंगे, आत्मावलोकन नहीं करेंगे, तो यही आपकी दुर्दशा रहेगी. हम चाहते हैं कि आप सक्रिय विपक्ष के रूप में सामने आए, और अखिलेश जी को हम शुभकामना देते हैं कि यदि विपक्ष के नेता बन करके वो हम लोगों को भी सावधान रखें. और मोदी जी ने लगातार कहा है कि एक विपक्ष जो होता है वो पॉलिटिकल डिस्कोर्स को हमेशा रिच बनाता है, वैल्यू ऐड करता है. इसलिए हमारी भी शुभकामनाएं आपके साथ है भुवन जी.
Okay, come in on this, Rahul Verma. From campaigning and narrative setting to social engineering and caste management, the BJP so far has functioned as one unit, from the grassroots cadre and the candidate right to the top leadership. Do you think this tenure becomes very, very crucial for Yogi Adityanath going ahead, also in the BJP's larger scheme of things? Because 2024 is an important battle, and the BJP, if they were to retain power at the center, has to perform as much as they did last time around. And that's where Yogi Adityanath's role comes, becomes very crucial.
True, Maria. See, not just for BJP, UP matters for any political party given its size, and UP matters for the country again given the population of the state. So if India has to progress, UP has to do well. And now, given that BJP has got second time majority, and it's an impressive victory, it's a record victory, as Nistula also mentioned. There would be a lot of expectations from Yogi Adityanath to govern the state in a way that, one, it helps the BJP to have a home run again in 2024, because a large section of BJP MPs also come from UP. Prime Minister himself contests from UP. But more importantly, for Yogi Adityanath himself to rise as a national level politician, his performance in the second term would matter a lot. During the campaign, I would say, while he went ahead with all kinds of rhetorics,
yes,
if he is looking for a higher position later on, Yogi Adityanath needs to involve as an administrator, as a communicator, as well as a politician.
Yes. Can he continue with his 80-20 rhetoric? I'm going to take that final word to Guru Prakash. But before that, Nistula, the fact that Brijesh Pathak was in the BSP continues to get place of prominence in the BJP. Look at Jitin Prasad, a turncoat, continues to get a place of prominence in the BJP. These two leaders are continuing in this cabinet, Nistula. Your thought on that, and also on two very important names. A 1988 Gujarat cadre officer in Arvind Sharma, who was seen as the eyes and ears of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has had 20-year-long association with Prime Minister, and also in Asim Arun. These are important names while we look at and analyze this entire council.
Of course, Maria, you're quite right. And I had spoken about it in the first intervention that you had allowed me on the show, that the inclusion of Mr. A.K. Sharma and the elevation of Brijesh Pathak to Deputy Chief Minister's position is, of course, quite important to note. These are also the two ends of the balancing act, that is the Council of Ministers that we see today, that was sworn in Lucknow. And if you remember that Mr. Sharma had become MLC in the last term of this government, and there was a lot of talk even then that he would be made minister, but he was not, and it gave rise to a lot of talk that possibly the Chief Minister at that time was not very comfortable with somebody who had such proximity to the Prime Minister. I think he has been rewarded for the fact that when the second wave of COVID hit India, he did a lot in terms of groundwork in Varanasi and Eastern UP, the particularly problematic areas for the state, in terms of getting together a COVID response there. And he has kind of worked quietly in the background for the party. Possibly that has been taken note of, and his name was pushed forward. Mr. Brijesh Pathak has been pushed as a Brahmin face for the party, a rural Brahmin face for the party. And obviously, since he also comes from the BSP, he has wide acceptability across community lines. He had been pushed from before in political meetings and public meetings in the run-up to the elections. I had been hearing pretty frequently that he was being asked to speak while a lot of other leaders were not being asked to speak from the manch. That, as you know, after covering politics in the heartland for so many years, it's a very important distinction that you give somebody कि उनको मंच पे बोलने का अवसर मिला. So Brajesh Pathak at that time also was promoted as such. So I don't find myself very surprised by the inclusions of these names. I do think that this Council of Ministers is a balance. It's a balancing act of caste equations, of Delhi-Lucknow relations, of there is a very, very firm imprimatur of the center of the national leadership. And Yogi Adityanath has also been allowed to have some of his favorites to be accommodated.
So, Guru Prakash, will the central leadership also send...
This is
Yes, Nistula, 30 seconds, go ahead.
Yogi Adityanath, in his address to the BJP legislature party yesterday, had used the word teamwork 3 times. I think we should have been warned at that time that this was going to be, the Council of Ministers would be looking like
Okay, so the point here is about the Delhi-Lucknow balance. Guru Prakash, then will Delhi also ensure that Yogi Adityanath doesn't continue with the election rhetoric of 80-20? That is a divisive rhetoric.
Maria, the Delhi-Lucknow relationship, the Delhi-Lucknow interface, I leave that to your wisdom and to other political commentators' wisdom. But as far as we are concerned, we were very clear on the day the statement was made. It was made categorically for 80% those who are in support of Bhrashtachar, who are in support of violence, who are in support of communal polarization. Throughout the election, we were talking about Ganna and Akhilesh Yadav was talking about Jinnah. So who was trying to communalize the election? Maria, I ask you, the people of Uttar Pradesh, for the first time in the history of Uttar Pradesh, 23 crore people of Uttar Pradesh, they voted in favor of Bharatiya Janata Party because Bharatiya Janata Party was speaking on behalf of them, not on behalf of one caste, not on behalf of one family, not on behalf of one community. And we must trust, we must have faith in the democratic DNA of this country. We must have faith in the intellect of our voters of Uttar Pradesh.
No,
they
but will Yogi Adityanath reimagine his own politics and his own symbolism that he does?
I disagree with that symbolism part, and like I said, I leave that to your wisdom. Like we say, our commitment, our motto is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, and we are going to continue with it.
I hope he does. I hope, and let's see whether he will actually ensure that Sabka Vishwas includes a crucial constituency of 20% in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Nistula Habbar, Rahul Verma, thank you so much for joining us, and Professor Bhaskar and Guru Prakash, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.